Good evening and welcome to the 2021 Caring Hearts Virtual Gala supporting Midwestern Children's Home. My name is Derek Drake. I'm the minister at Loveland Heights Church of Christ, and I am honored to have been chosen to MC tonight's festivities, or program, whatever you want to call it. We've got a great program tonight. I'm really excited for some of the things that you're going to hear about, what's going on at Midwestern. Joining me right now is Barry Bovary, Executive Director for Midwestern Children's Home, and I've asked Barry to open us up tonight with a prayer.
Let's pray. Father, you are so good to us. You have made us your own. You have made us your children. You've allowed us to call you Father. We're blessed to be yours and in your kingdom. And Father, tonight as we lift up Midwestern Children's Home to you, as a ministry, they care for children. We lift up to you our house parents, all the staff at Midwestern. And Father, tonight, the children that we serve, that you bless them, you bring healing to their hearts. Father, that they may know the peace that you wish for all of us, the full life that you desire for us in the name of Jesus. Father, as we go through this evening, we seek your blessing, your wisdom, and your guidance. Thank you for all the ways that you have blessed Midwestern through the years, that you've made it what you wanted it to be. And so tonight, as our audience tunes in, open their hearts to all that you're doing at Midwestern. Bless us this evening in what we share. Bless those that watch and what they give. We pray all this through Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Barry. We're going to sit down with Barry a little bit later and take some questions from you. If you have questions that may come up throughout the night, you can text those to us at 513-334-7520. Again, that's 513-334-7520. Now, I want to take a moment to appreciate the beauty of the campus of Midwestern, set in the countryside of Pleasant Plain, Ohio, and understand the mission of this incredibly important work.
Midwestern Children's Home provides a safe, nurturing, and Christian environment that protects and heals troubled children and helps them to know God and Jesus through His Word. The Midwestern Children's Home Ministry is a loving tribute to the compassion of our Lord, who said, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." Matthew 19:14.
What a stunning campus and a great intro to our evening. You know, tonight is not like galas in the past. Since we're not meeting in person, we're missing out on the fellowship and the camaraderie and the food. We're also missing out on that dessert dash, which I hear is quite the fanfare. So there's a lot more that we're missing out on, but really the purpose of this evening is still the same. We're still aiming to raise money to support the wonderful work going on at Midwestern Children's Home. Because there is no meal, imagine that the wonderful food that you would have had, and consider donating the $50 per ticket price that you typically pay to get into the gala tonight. And you can do that by going to midwestern.org/support. That's mid-western.org/support, and there's a button on there for PayPal, and you can donate through PayPal throughout the night, really. Tonight was also made possible, of course, by our wonderful sponsors, Chesta Company, Smile Designs of Southern Ohio, and Craig Lytle Auctioneers, which brings us to another highlight of the night, and that is, of course, the auction. We do have an online auction this year to help raise money for Midwestern. This online auction can be accessed at the Midwestern website. That's, again, midwestern.org, mid-western.org, and specifically /Gala. And that will take you to the page with the link that you can get to the auction website. Now, you don't have to create an account to view the items in the auction, but if you do want to bid on the items, you do have to register and give some personal information and set up an account so that you can actually bid. You'll bid throughout the night on that auction website. That auction is going to be open until this Thursday. So you do have some time to fight with people online and fight back and forth with your bids. You will also make payments for the auction items that you win through that website. You won't send that money directly to Midwestern. Craig Lytle is working with us and has donated his time so that we can get that money back to Midwestern. You will, however, pick up your items from Midwestern, and you can contact Midwestern, of course, to coordinate that as well. Included in the auction, there's a lot of great stuff. There are antiques. There are handmade items from local artisans. There's some beautiful hand-turned pins on there. Don't touch the fountain pen. I'm bidding on that, but you can bid on it. I'm going to fight you for it, though, tooth and nail, I promise. But head over there, check out those items, and start bidding. Again, that auction is open right now. You can continue bidding on that until Thursday when the auction closes. Along with the online auction, we also have some live auction items tonight as well. Sorry, I'm not an auctioneer. You won't hear me going, hey, but you can do that via email. We're gonna take your bids through email. So as you see on your screen right now, you can make your bids for these items. The first item is a handmade quilt. This quilt has been hand constructed with love by Eileen Johnson, and it was quilted by Anita Huber. The pattern is a lattice pattern. It is both beautiful and soft. It's kind of a light purpley color. That picture doesn't give it as much justice. We'll show you a live look at that a little bit later tonight. And as a quiltologist with a lifelong knowledge of quilts, this one is a dandy. It is a beautiful quilt. So get to bidding on that. If you want to bid for that, send an email to midwestern@midwestern.org. That's mid-western@mid-western.org. And make sure you put in the subject line, quilt. And in the body of the email, detail your name, your phone number, and your bid. We will be communicating back and forth with you, letting you know whether you're the top bidder. We'll also be updating folks throughout the night as to what the top bid is on that. Right now, just so that you know, the top bid on the quilt, the leading bid, is $200. So I guess you can consider that the starting bid for the quilt. So go ahead and start bidding on that. Send your emails in. We also have the second item, and what I'm told is the hot ticket item of the night, and that is a vacation getaway to Naples, Florida. This is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo located within walking distance to a lake. There's a pool on site. There's tennis courts. There's sunshine and freedom in Naples, Florida. So if you want to head out to Naples, Florida for a month, that's right, 4 weeks in Naples, Florida, you can bid on this item as well. The process to bid for this is the same. Email midwestern@midwestern.org, and in your subject line, detail vacation, and you can submit your bids there. Starting bid on that is $1,000. $1,000, because that's my bid. So let's go. All right? All right. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of information. We've got a lot of time. We're only 15 minutes into 2 hours. We're planning on streaming live until 8 o'clock. So, and another note, if you're watching this after the fact, obviously a lot of the live auction items will not be available for your bid, so you can ignore that part. But that online auction is ongoing until Thursday. One other thing, too, that I wanted to note, a lot of people prefer mailing checks in to support Midwestern. You can do that. If you'd like to mail a check, go to midwestern.org. Their mailing address is there. When you send the check in, we just ask that you put on the notation line Gala, just so that we know and we can track that money a little bit differently than the other contributions that are coming in. So that would be a big help for the financial department as well. Much of what we are doing tonight in terms of support is to support the work that is going on, of course, at Midwestern. And a lot of that work is done by those serving as house parents. In a few minutes, we're going to sit down with Barry and have a discussion about the work that goes on here at Midwestern. But first, let's hear from these servants who are working in the lives of children.
I am Faye Fuquay, and my husband is Danny, and we have 7 children, I would say, and lots of heart families. We came here in June of 1987. I didn't want to come, but God had a different plan for me. So I said, okay, God, 2 years that I'm leaving. Well, here it is, almost 34 years later, and I'm still here. And I'm waiting on God to say, okay, Faye, it's time for you to move on. This is not a job. I would have to say it started off, and hopefully is still a mission, but I get a lot of benefits out of it. I feel good about the girls. I've always had girls. I know that I do not help all of them, but we do. Dana and I showed them a different way of life.
My name is Missy Hatcher, and I have been at Midwestern working as a house parent for about 10 years. We started out as relief house parents, and about 3-4 years ago, went to full-time house parenting. Our church has been affiliated, Central has been affiliated with Midwestern pretty much for as long as I can remember. I grew up at Central, so coming to Midwestern for Friends Day and Rally Days and all the things has always been a part of my life. I started doing that as a 5-year-old. I've always been intrigued by what went on the other side of campus, because we were always over at the campground. And I remember specifically one Saturday morning during one of those rally days or whatever, that we came over to House 7 and had breakfast. And all the girls were helping serve with Miss Faye. And I just thought it was really interesting how you always thought of Midwestern as being for these really kids that are really, really troubled. And they were sweet and respectful and engaging. And I thought, man, that's gotta be hard for them not to be at home, but still be able to function so well. So it always was in the back of my mind, but being a single parent, there was no way I could ever serve in that way. And then God had a crazy plan for me, and I met Rob through church, and he was serving as a house parent. When we first got married, we had always talked about wanting to be able to serve at Midwestern in a house parent role. But he always said, if we ever go, I only want to do relief. So, and I'm like, okay. I'm not ready for that. I don't know that I'm going to be ready anytime soon. I remember standing at Faye's kitchen and talking to her about it right when Rob and I first got married, a month after we got married. two sets of house parents decided to leave Midwestern at the same time and then needed somebody to fill in temporarily. So we came back that summer, just a couple months after we were married, and been here ever since.
Well, my name is Candy Houston. I first came to Midwestern when my parents moved here to work as house parents the summer between my junior and senior year in high school. So I have been a part of this campus for just at 34 years. I then married a gentleman that was a caseworker, my husband Scott. So he has worked for Midwestern for 26 years. So I've had a long-term involvement. We've been at Midwestern a long time. It's sort of part of the fabric of who I am today. You know, I didn't come to live here as a resident, but I was a resident here. I grew up into an adult and became the person that I am because of my involvement here. So one of the roles that we currently have here at Midwestern is as relief house parents. So there are full-time house parents that are typically caring for the kids here, the residents here, 24 hours a day. They do need some time to gather their own thoughts, collect themselves, just to refresh their own spirits. So what that typically looks like is during the school year, the kids would go to school as usual from their home, and then they would return to my house.
I love working with children who have very specific needs for stability, love, and within the context of still being able to be themselves. I was a single parent for a very long time. I raised 3 teenagers by myself with help, of course, from family or whatever, but having that understanding of what it feels like to come from a broken home or to not have the financial stability or the emotional supports that you need, especially as a teenager, is very real to me. And to be able to possibly fill that need for a child in some small way is very motivational for me. I think that sometimes kids that are like the kids that come to Midwestern, I almost feel like they're throwaway kids. Like nobody really wants to deal with them, nobody wants to put up with them, and that breaks my heart. So to be able to be a safe place for a kid who just needs a safe place to land is part of the reason that I continue to stay at Midwestern. The other is I feel like God has put me here. And like every time I get frustrated and I feel like I'm not doing enough or I'm not effective enough, He always shows me a way that I am being effective, like that the work that we do matters. Like it might just be for one kid at one particular time, but that's all that's really necessary, is to be that for that one child in that particular moment. It's hard. The day-to-day gets really hard sometimes, especially when you have kids that really just don't want to connect with you, that they don't want any part of you or the things you're trying to provide for them. They fight you all the way. You have those kids that get in your face and call you bad words. And that's hard. That's hard. I had one kid who never called me by my name. He called me a bad word every single day. That's how he referred to me. And that was difficult. But again, it's coming from a place of hurt and anger and fear. So you just kind of tolerate it and put up with it. But some days it's really hard. Some days it's difficult and you just keep praying for a better day the next day and looking forward to sometimes those breaks that we get, because you need to get filled back up and just need to rest.
When Danny was working, I really wasn't concerned about the grocery bill because, he's working. I can use more than what my allotment is. And he was okay with that. Now I'm a little bit more, hey, you can only have one fruit. hey, you can only have one glass of orange juice, which is okay. Going out to places, sometimes, I can't always do what they'd like, but we do some fun stuff. And they're just fun. Every house I've had, yes, there are hard times, but then there are not so hard times. The good times override the hard times.
One of the most special things about Midwestern as a community is the support you get from everyone else. There are some times when people think that I should have handled a situation differently, or I feel like somebody else should have handled a situation differently. But we are living real life here. So we have losses that happen. We have personal things that happen that are part of our personal life, not so much the Midwestern life. And the thing that I can appreciate the most is every single time that somebody has something going on, whether it's myself or another house parent or another staff member, you get so much support and love and care from every single person on campus. I think as a society, people are hesitant to give to so many social organizations. Like, you look at people on the street and you see people begging for money and you think, okay, where is that money really going? Are they going to go drink it? Or are they going to go, do something bad with it? But given to a place like Midwestern, it's hard to explain the difference that you're going to make in a child's life. You're giving them that safe place to land. You're giving them security. You're giving some kids who don't know what it's like to have 3 meals a day. I always keep a bowl of fruit out where the kids can see it, because you have kids come in that are they don't know where their next meal is coming from. I always want them to know that there's food available to them. There's so many ways that, I think you take things for granted, like having electricity and the food issue and those kind of things, where some of these kids have never experienced that on a regular basis. Some of them are I had one boy who brought ramen noodles with him because he was afraid that I wouldn't have enough food for him to eat. And that's just so sad. It breaks my heart. They don't know what a home-cooked meal is. I had one boy say, I've never had home-cooked meal 5 days in a row before.
So the Gala has been a very positive part of Midwestern recent history. One way I think that obviously the fundraising is key, but it provides an opportunity for people to see how they can contribute. I find that there are people who think about this event all year long, which means that people are thinking about Midwestern all year long. People want to know how they can make this event more successful, which often translates into how can we make Midwestern more successful? How can we increase Midwestern's ability to do what Midwestern does? That's why we need funds. That's why we need the Gala. That's why we need support from everyone.
Well, I think Candy said it best there. The Gala is really important, and it is an essential part of the work here at Midwestern, and your donations and purchases on the auction help support these families who are working in the lives of these kids. Before we interview Barry, we're going to check in on those live auction items. Again, we've got that quilt. That quilt top bid right now is still at $200. We haven't had any other bids come in yet. Come on, people. Let's go. It's a great quilt. Vacation package, top bid right now is $1,200. And I think it is important that we mention that these items, the bidding for these items ends tonight at 7:45 p.m. Okay, we will be announcing the winners tonight. So this does not go until Thursday. This is tonight only, okay? And as you can see there on the screen, that is how you make your bids. Again, you will email your bid into midwestern@midwestern.com. Make sure you put a dash in between mid and western on both of those. Please, please, please make sure that you are giving us your name, a contact phone number, and your bid in the body of the email. That way we know how to contact you and we know who's bidding, because we want to make sure that we announce at the end of the night who won those items. The online auction, again, that is, go to mid-western.org/gala, and you can click on the link there. You can also donate on the auction site. If you scroll, I think it's on page 4 of the auction site, there are donation items that you can actually bid on or buy to donate. Just if you don't want to buy into the auction items, you can donate via that. You can also, of course, go to midwestern.org/support and donate via PayPal as well. All right. Barry Bovary, good evening. Sir. We are going to sit down, obviously, in these lovely plush red chairs, which, by the way, are for auction. midwestern.org/gala, click on the auction. These can be yours, and if you pick them up tonight, they will be pre-warmed for you. But you can't, because the auction ends on Thursday, and you just bid on them. They're great chairs. They're very, very comfortable. All right, so Barry, let's talk about Midwestern a little bit. I know, in years past, the gala, everybody's sitting at tables or conversing. We don't really get this opportunity to sit down and really talk about what goes on at Midwestern. And I think a lot of people maybe have questions or maybe they have preconceived notions about what goes on at Midwestern and they don't have a full understanding of that. So first, let's just start out real simple. What brought you to Midwestern Children's Home? And maybe just give us a little background of the home itself.
All right. Well, I found myself in Lubbock, Texas a long time ago and was very unsettled there. And I had an opportunity to come to Ohio and work for this strange place called Midwestern Children's Home, and had no idea what I was getting into as I took on that role and that journey. And I left Lubbock, Texas with Lubbock, Texas in my rearview mirror. To quote Mac Davis from the old song there, looking for happiness, and God really delivered. Yeah. God made that happen. I thought I was on a 3-year tour, to quote Gilligan's Island, I guess, and 25 years later, wow. My heart has really just come to Midwestern Children's Home. Through the years, I came in as the program director. In 2007, I became the opportunity to become the executive director and have served in that role since then. And just to see the lives change, to be vested in the house parents, the case managers, the people that make the changing of hearts and lives real. It's a joy to work with them. And the nuance of working for a relatively small agency is I'm never too far removed from the kids. Yeah. I often am filling in on nights and weekends at times to allow other people time off. And to see the journey of the kids go on is probably the strongest thing that has really just cemented. And that work can be anywhere, but Midwestern has its own unique way of getting things done or helping these kids. And that's really what has drawn me to Midwestern and kept me there through all these years. In the big scheme of things, Midwestern Children's Home has been around since 1967. Wow. That's when the first cottages were built. And it was right away, there were 6 cottages, bam, 1967. And families moved in, house parent families moved in. And from my understanding with that early history, they got a very fast start. There was by the end of that first year of 1967, 20, 30 kids in care. Wow. And the first one didn't even get there till June of that year. So we'll talk more about programming in that. You've met some of our house parents, but the house parent model has always been a core value of Midwestern Children's Home and serving kids in a family-like manner. And we continue that to this day.
Well, that's a good point. I think, we just watched the video of the house parents. Tell us a little bit more about the house parents, what you look for in couples or families coming into Midwestern.
Well, we know that asking anybody to come and make a missional sacrifice to become a house parent is a big ask. And so we are looking for, of course, with people with a little bit of maturity in life.
Sure.
We're looking for people that really are looking for some sort of mission to join. They're mission-minded. Sometimes we make the comparison that it can be as life-changing to take on house parenting at Midwestern as going to a foreign country and being a missionary there. Walmart is still right around the corner. McDonald's is a 5-minute drive from campus. We have the modern conveniences of American life, even though Pleasant Plain feels like it's in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And so we're not calling them to a huge life change, and yet serving the kids is that. So we're looking for, usually families are maybe in their 30s, 40s. We have a set of house parents that you met there, Faye and Danny, that they've been doing it for quite a while, and they're in their 70s now. So the age range can be vast and great. They can have their own children with them. They cannot. Really, it's that heart, that aptitude to come in and serve kids. And I feel like I talk to a lot of people that I could never do that. And I would say to them, well, each one has to make a wise decision on that. But we have quite a supportive campus with different roles that people serve in, that as a team, we care for these kids. And we give that assurance to people that can join our team and really make a difference in the lives of kids.
Yeah, I think Miss Faye put it best. It's not a job. A lot of people look at house parents and think, oh, they're just doing it for the paycheck. It's not a job. It's a ministry. And, being a minister myself, getting paid to be a minister is a strange concept, really, in the grand scheme of things. But, they are sacrificing their livelihoods. And another question I have about that is, do they work outside the home at all?
We have a hiring practice that we hire one, usually the mother, full-time.
Okay.
The father is a part-time employee. They're both fully trained as, we'll call it child care staff. Okay. But the part-time person is free to have a job in the community. Okay. And that has allowed people who are in a career and enjoy the career and maybe even have a good retirement in that career to continue in that. There's quite an opportunity with so many people working from home that could even happen at Midwestern Children's Home, and that other employment could remain stable as we do that. So, the scale of stress when you look at changing your life over as well, when you take a new job and you move to a new place, and maybe you even have physically moved from one place to another, we want to lessen that as much as possible. We want to make sure that people make a really good transition to Midwestern, even though they have all of that upheaval in their lives at that point in time.
And the homes they move into, it's their home. It's not just they move in and stay there for a couple of weeks. It's their home. They bring their furniture in. They move their lives into this and start serving the kids.
Absolutely. We do furnish a lot of things, like the dining room table and chairs are usually ours. The beds the kids sleep in is theirs. And, there's furniture. But we want each house parent to truly make that cottage their home while they're there. And one of the nuances, and some of the videos show a little bit of the interiors, is maybe you didn't realize that was the cottage, because it really looks like somebody's home. It's not an institution. There's drywall. There's pictures hanging on the wall. There's family pictures of the house parents. Right. It really feels like you're entering somebody's home when you walk in there. And that's why we want it. So when a kid arrives first day, and we'll talk more about the kids, I know later, we want them to feel like this is somebody's home, and maybe this could become my good home. For the time that I need to be here.
Yeah, and Miss Faye talked about heart families, and it in watching these videos and learning about everything that's going on at the children's home, you really do get a sense of family, and I think that's obviously an important part of the program, is to have that familial backbone, and teaching the kids that aspect of
Absolutely.
things. What is one of the biggest hurdles or maybe difficulties for house parents?
Well, beyond just transitioning in, which is a large adventure in itself, they're living life. They're doing real life service to children amongst their own ongoing issues. So I would say it's a demanding calling. Mm-hmm. The kids have their ups and downs, and that makes each day a little bit of you just don't know what you're going to get. Sure. Kind of like a box of chocolates, you know. And so there's an adventure, there's a journey with that. And meanwhile, their own lives are going on.
Sure.
And specifically, we've seen this the past few years where our house parents have had, their own parents pass away. Right. They've lost maybe their own, an adult child. And just other issues that go on. Life doesn't stop just because you come to Midwestern Children's Home. Right. So a big hurdle for every family, especially since we recruit as well from out of state, maybe even better from out of state than we do in state, is that they find a true support system. Right. They truly connect to a church. They find ways to live life with friends and family and whatever that means for them, so that they have not just the support of coworkers and the heart of Midwestern, but they have the support of people around them, and that's what it takes. That not everybody understands what they do as house parents, right? But they need to have the ability to have people come and surround them, and not just like in the hard times and the bad times, but in the fun times and the good times. And if it's 4th of July, that there's some leeway to celebrate the 4th of July or Mother's Day like we did this past weekend, and that they do have a life beyond house parenting, and that balance is really huge in house parents maintaining a healthy system to where they can serve for the longest period of time that would work for them.
It's a community.
Absolutely.
It is. It's a familial based community, I think, is a good way to put it. Now, you mentioned having some time off and respite, and you have relief house parents for that. Now, explain what their role is and how the relief rotation works, maybe for the families, but also the kids as well.
All right. We value taking care of our house parents, and that means guaranteed time off. Yeah. So basically the house parents get 6 to 7 days off a month. That is not in a row or consecutive. That is a weekend off a month, and then on the other weeks they get basically a day off during the day to where they are not responsible for the kids in any way. During those times, as they are off, they get a chance to they do whatever they want to do, but the kids actually are cared for by relief house parents. Scott and Candy, you met Candy in that video, or one of them. Charles and Chrissy Prince, you haven't met them yet.
I have met them.
You have met them.
They visited our church.
Okay. They are serving in that, and so they totally take over the care for the kids that day. Okay. We hope that though, kind of like. I don't want to use a total babysitter mentality, but we hope that as they go over to relief, that maybe things can just relax just a hair. We still, our kids still need support and structure, but that maybe they feel a little less being watched. Maybe they feel a little less under the microscope of, I got to get my life together. Mm-hmm. I've got to change.
It's a little
behavior.
Vacation for them.
A little vacation for them. Yeah. So we hope that all that comes together really well for the kids, and that relief feels a little different. Right. It's a little less structured, a little more just fun for the weekend. Sure. And not that our house parents have fun with the kids. Right. We were talking today about different times of even just taking the kids out to eat and enjoying that together. Yeah. That they can have fun and they can enjoy those times together.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. Now, I'm going to ask a question I think you're ready for. Are you actively looking for house parents right now?
Absolutely. We are turning children away. I turned away the possibility of a young lady today because Miss Faye cares for girls. She cares for 8, and she has 8. And another young lady got referred to us today, and I had to turn that young lady away because we don't have enough house parents at this point. So really, we have 2 open cottages we're looking to fill. We really try to align with any family coming in, whether they would serve boys or girls. They have a lot of say in that. so that we're creating the best strength on strength approach we possibly can. So any family that would be interested in coming and talking, there's the reality of a house parent tour where you come and we'll show you the little more of the nitty-gritty, get into the details of house parenting. And so we'd encourage you that if you've ever thought about house parenting at all, to get in touch with me and take that house parenting tour, just to get to see what God does with that in your heart as you would come on campus and get a feel for our houses and all that house parents do. Well,
that's great, and I'm going to take this opportunity to check in on our online auctions as well. You gave your pitch, now I'm going to give my pitch as well. All right, so our live auctions right now, just so everybody at home is aware, the vacation home, the current bid on that is $2,200. We've gone up.
Awesome.
$2,200 on the vacation home. Remember, that's 4 weeks in Florida, close to the beach, in the warmth. This is available, by the way, it sleeps 8. It's available from September to February. The owner of the house will contact you. You can coordinate the times you want to go out there. But just think about escaping the winter of Ohio on the beaches of southern Florida. That sounds fabulous. But if you have to stay in Ohio where it's cold, why not have a beautiful quilt to keep you warm? It's a queen-size quilt, so you can fit at least 3 people or one of me under it. It's 86 by 87.5 inches, fit a queen-size bed, and we'll take a live look at that here in a few minutes. But make sure that you're sending those bids in, Midwestern at midwestern.org. Make sure that you put quilt or vacation in your subject line. Let us know your bid. Make sure you tell us your name and your phone number so that we can contact you and let you know whether you won or not. Another reminder, too, of course, of the online auction. To get to that, midwestern.org/gala. There's a link there that you can go, you can register, and you can start bidding on the wonderful items that are there. You know, I saw a chocolate fountain or 2 available on that. We should have had a chocolate fountain here and just dip in. I mean, we got the chairs. We could have had a chocolate fountain here. I don't need to eat chocolate. All right, let's talk about the kids.
Absolutely.
What kind of activities? You know, we talked about what the house parents do going out to eat. What kind of activities do the kids get to participate in, both on and off campus?
We want the kids to have a very regular life when they come to us. You know, so the routine of the day, especially as we're in the school year, has a lot to do with the day of school.
Sure.
And I think we're going to talk later about Village Christian School and all that. But with the dynamics of how long kids coming in, how long they stay with us, it's really complicated for us to align them to, I'll say, like community-based sports and that kind of stuff. Sure. But we look for ways to keep them active. They love our playground. They call it the park. There's swings out there. There is something about every kid loves to swing. Many adults love to swing, and just the blessing of that. And our house parents are really good at just making sure that the flow of the day is going really well. Right. Thankfully, we're out of wintertime, but I could say they did a lot of puzzles and things like that maybe all of us did, especially with us being home more over the last year. And that was really a hardship on our whole programming, is that so much shut down, so much closed, and there was so much of a lack of opportunities to, if you have a mom and a dad and a couple of their own kids and 6 residents, restaurants weren't letting 10 people in.
Right, that's a good point.
So it's been kind of an interesting dynamic with that over the last year. Thankfully, things are opening up, and they can get back to that. But whether it's going out to eat, there could be a, hey, let's all go get ice cream kind of thing. Through the years, our kids have had Kings Island passes. We have a summer recreation program where we want to expose them to different things throughout Cincinnati. We've utilized the Nature Center and to plug them. If you do all their trails, you get a T-shirt. So some of our kids have walked away with a T-shirt at the end of the summer.
And got to enjoy the beauty of nature.
Of the nature, exactly.
God's creation.
So, and then the other thing I want to say is that, our house parents, we're looking for people who are of faith. that will attend church and make church a priority in their lives. And so one of the greatest social aspects, I believe, is them getting to be in services with other people.
Right.
And that can lead to like youth group type outings and activities. Camps, we've had kids go to camps through the years, Fort Hill Christian Youth Camp and different camps. And so just the blessing of getting them around God's family and letting them see that it's weird. They think the staff at Midwestern are the only one that actually live out their Christianity. And when they get around other people, they're like, there's other people that want to live out their Christianity as well. And it just paints that larger picture of that's an activity that we value.
Well, it's an extension of the familial community as well.
Absolutely.
Because that's what the Lord's church is. It is a family, and it is a community of believers, and that's a wonderful point. So let's talk about the kids a little bit more. Where are they coming from? You talked about a referral coming in. How do they find their way to Midwestern instead of the other programs that exist out there?
Well, that's a little complicated, so we'll try to not go into the complexities, I'll say. Overall, we will have two categories of referrals. There's referrals that we call private referrals. That's where the parent has custody of that child and somebody is looking for extended services.
Okay.
And you would ask, well, why would a parent place their child?
Sure.
And, for those of us that have been blessed with children that maybe they break minor rules, maybe they struggle with maybe not, hitting their brother and not admitting to that, as you might know in your household,
very well.
That there are kids struggling with more major issues,
right,
and that are overwhelming to families, and they may often have been in counseling, and that's not enough, and so they're seeking out services. Cincinnati Children's Hospital Psychiatric Unit, to go to that extreme, those social workers know of us, and we get referrals from there. There are many counselors in the community of Cincinnati that know of Midwestern Children's Home and make referrals when they see this family needs a little more support. It's amazing. I was in the role of receiving the referrals for a long time.
As the program director.
As the program director. And I can tell you the number of families that have said, I'm sick of sleeping with my door locked every night because I just don't feel safe in my own home. I'm sick of learning to sleep with one eye open because I just am uncertain of what's going to happen at night and I want to be there. And you can't live that way unendingly. Right. And so for those families, we want to be a great resource that they can get the help they need. Placement in of itself gives a little bit of a break between them. And then our goal is to reunify that family in a healthy way. When the child has grown, the parents have had some time to gain some health, some reestablish that, and we can bring them back together. But we also work with public placements, and that means like Children's Services has custody.
Okay.
And there are times, it wasn't the case of the young lady today, but there are times that the child is sitting at Children's Services and has no place to sleep tonight. And so we get a call saying, hey, can you take this kid? Those are a little nerve-wracking.
Sure.
The kid is kind of stressed coming in, but any house parent would tell you they're kind of stressed about this new thing. They don't know each other. And usually we don't know a whole lot about that. But we work with the local counties right here in the greater Cincinnati area in southwest Ohio. Okay. And they all know of us, and our house parent model has been something that they love, that it is truly a family-style setting. Yeah. And they get a lot of support and structure and help, more than just your average foster home, and yet it feels like a foster home. Yeah. And so they do, a lot of the counties we work with prioritize us at a certain level for those kids that would come our way.
Well, I think that's even more of a call for the need for house parents and the need for your support as well. Let's watch a video. We've got another video here of some former residents and some testimonials that they have of their time at Midwestern, how their lives have changed. I find this to be incredibly powerful. So let's take a look at that, and we'll come back after that.
So hi, my name is Melissa Henshaw. I came to Midwestern in 1988. I was 14 years old and I was placed in the Fuquay's house. I was supposed to only be here for a weekend. Ended up spending the rest of my life until I was an adult. And I always was lucky enough to live with the Fuquays. I was looking for stability. I was looking for someone who would love me unconditionally, although I didn't know that's what I was looking at. To say I was a bit of a pain in the neck, I'm sure Danny and Faye would say I was a pretty big pain in the neck. So we started the adoption process when I was 16. Took a little longer than we'd hoped. So I was actually 17 when I finally got the adoption taken care of. So they had 3 other children, Preston, Candy, and Todd, who all welcomed me into their family as well. So it was really great how this was a neighborhood. It was like moving into suburbia, except out in the middle of the country. So if you ran away, you didn't go far. But it was really neat seeing how all the houses worked together, whether you had a boy house or a girl house, we still were able to get together and do fun things together, be neighbors, share meals. So when I came to Midwestern, I didn't trust anybody. I wasn't gonna love anybody. Nobody was gonna tell me what to do. I was the boss of the world. And I thought at 14, I knew everything. Like every 14-year-old does, I guess. I know my children certainly do. But obviously I didn't know everything. And being able to learn to accept love is difficult when you haven't seen it in your life. So being able to get that love every day. I'm going to tell a story real quick. For those of you who may or may not know, Faye is not a big fan of kittens. I know it's very weird, but she hates kittens. And when I was probably about 16, something was going to happen where I may have had to leave Midwestern. For whatever reason, financially, I wasn't going to be able to stay. And I was nervous that I was going to have to go. But one night we were all goofing around outside and I found this kitten. And I really didn't believe that Mama was afraid of kittens. So I went to try to scare her with one. She got so, she was scared and yelled, and I was, oh my goodness, I was so nervous that she was going to send me away. And so when we got home, I went to my room and I, literally just started thinking, they're going to send me to that orphanage. That is, my life is over. And she came in and she said, first of all, don't do that again. And then she hugged me. So I knew then that, wait a minute, I just made this lady really mad and she still loves me. So that was one of the times I started feeling things were different with these people. So it was because of them I was able to eventually, open up, accept love, and know that I could be a better person. And I have a desire to give back and help people because of Midwestern. And I think that that's what people should take away from Midwestern. We're all going to have different experiences. But with my particular experience, it's helped me to want to do better and share what I can with other people.
I'm NJ, and I will be talking about how I came to be the person that I am through Midwestern and what Midwestern has done for me. Start off by saying I came to Midwestern in 2013. I was 10 years old, and I was one angry, mad 10-year-old. But little did I know that that 10-year-old would turn out to be me right now these days. So when I first got to Midwestern, as I said, I was very mad because I thought I didn't have anything wrong or to work on or to fix, and thought I was pretty perfect myself. But little did I know, I had lots to work on, and throughout the years, I really started to work on it. When I first got here, I was very rude, had attitude problems. I lied. I didn't know how to make friends or keep friends or what a healthy relationship was. And then throughout the years, I got to experience what love looked like and who to accept and to trust. And Midwestern has really showed me that you can come from the worst, and then you can rise up to be the best once you work on it and let people in and you trust people. And throughout the years, I've seen a lot of other kids go through Midwestern, and I've seen them be just like me. And some kids have turned around for the better, and some kids continue doing what they're doing, and they aren't changed. I think the biggest thing about Midwestern is that it is my literal home. No, I do not live at Midwestern right now. I moved about a year ago, and I always come back because that's not my home. This is my home. When I first came to Midwestern and I got to see what the house was like and the whole setup and the system, I was petrified. I was 10 years old, and I would be living with 17, 18, 16, 15-year-olds. It was weird because when you take a 10-year-old with a teenager, it's just a very weird combo. So it was very hard to form a friendship or a relationship with the girls. And it was hard in general to form a relationship with any of the other residents. And everything was large. There was a large table, lots of cups, lots of name tags, and it was overwhelming, but we figured it out over time. But it was a little intimidating, and I was tiny and I had no clue what was going on. When I started realizing that I needed to work on myself and change my life and the way I think and look at life is, it definitely wasn't a one person fix it all. It was definitely a lot of people from Midwestern, multiple house parents, therapists, and leaders here that helped get me to where I am. I have many favorite memories of being here at Midwestern, and a lot of them were good, a lot of them were bad, but one of my top favorite memories is probably when I was 10 years old and I was on the back of Miss Faye's house, and there were these bumps or dents in the road, and I just had this bike and I would just love biking. And so then I would just go really fast, and then one day I braked really hard and then flipped over my bike bars, and then it went into my stomach, and I was on the ground and I couldn't breathe, and I thought I was going up there with him. And then Miss Faye, she calls Mr. Aaron, and she's like, I think she's down, somebody go get her. And Mr. Aaron was like, oh boy. So then he went up there and he got me. He's like, are you still alive? I was like, I'm alive, but I'm barely breathing. I think that was one of my favorite, because it was just funny, and both of them came to my rescue at the same time, and I don't know, it just felt like I was being rescued, and it was pretty fun at the same time.
My name is Destiny. I lived with my biological mom and biological dad until I was 5 years old. When I was 5, until the time I was 15, I lived with my aunt, and I had some behavioral issues, bad attitude problem, just an overall bad kid. And I moved to Midwestern, and I moved in with the Fuquays, and I lived with them until I was 18. So when I first moved here, I did not like the rules. I did not like the fact that I had to live with 6 other girls my age, teenagers. Before Midwestern, I had gone to a different program. It was more of a lockdown residential kind of more like a treatment facility almost. That definitely wasn't my place to be. I didn't thrive there. I didn't make any improvements, anything like that. It actually made me worse. So that when I did come to Midwestern, I was in a worse, spot than I was before. So yeah, Midwestern's been the only thing that's really been able to help me change my life. So when I first moved to Midwestern, I lived with the McClaritys, and I lived with them for roughly about 4 months, and I was just too much for them to handle. I was always getting in trouble and always being put on level 1, and they were done with me. So they sent me across the street to the Fugues, which was a blessing in disguise because they're now my forever family. I think the biggest thing that helped me with the Fugues was understanding that not everybody was bad and out to get me, and some people were there to help me change and wanted the best for me. So in the last week, we have been notified that we have a court date coming up soon, and that court date is for my adoption. So I'm getting adopted by the Fugues. So I'm excited because they've always been my forever family, and although we don't necessarily need to make it a legal thing, and I'm excited to actually become the family, even though I always have been. When I lived in her house, some of the things we bonded over was cooking and watching crime shows like Criminal Minds. And even now, we like to still cook together and watch those same shows. So since I've left Midwestern, I have started school. So I'm in school for social work. And I am gonna get married this September, and I'm getting married in the barn on Midwestern campus. So Grumps is walking me down the aisle in my wedding. Scott is gonna be the one who's officiating the wedding. And then of course, Grams and Grumps are gonna be my parents in the wedding. And all of the family that I've met from Withamsville that I was only introduced to by Midwestern is gonna be there. So I'm a dog mom to a Chihuahua. She's actually a Chihuahua Pug mix. Her name is Ella. Currently, we may be in the market to get another Chihuahua from the rescue, but I'm not too sure about that. So the first thing that I loved about Midwestern was Henry, the wiener dog. He's so cute with his little legs running around campus, just making his way, just hopping. He's so cute. I think Midwestern's not really a sad place. Like, I think that many people come in sad and may be upset that they may be leaving a different place that they had, that had become normal to them, or a family that become normal to them. But after they get over that initial, little bit of time, it's really not a sad place. Like, everything is supposed to be family oriented. You're supposed to be rebuilt back into your family, and an actual healthy family, not a institution or, just a bad environment.
So hi.
First of all, what a touching set of testimonials. I mean, when we were watching them last night when we were doing the run through, you even said, even if I did script it, I couldn't have scripted it better than that.
Absolutely. That bring back so many memories of working. I didn't work with all those kids, but working with those kids, and just the hearts that they shared was incredible.
Yeah. And shout out to Devin Knipp, who has produced all of those videos. He did a fantastic job. He's producing this tonight. He's running back and forth, running between cameras and yelling at Riley in the booth. And we're all kind of yelling at Riley in the booth, to be honest. But
that's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Yell at Riley.
But Devin did a great job. He really captured the joy and the mission at Midwestern. So great job to him. And thank you also to our volunteers who are helping in the broadcast booth back there. And so wanted to give them a quick shout out. So let's check in on our auction items. Again, all of your support tonight is going to help out at Midwestern Children's Home. Midwestern.org/gala is where you can go for the online auctions. For the live auction items, just a quick update on that. We get a shot of the quilt. Our quilt here on stage, live. I just want to snuggle up with it. If you snuggle up with it, does that make you a snuggle-upagus? I'm sorry, I will not do that again. Tell you what, if you don't want to hear any more dad jokes, you can donate at midwestern.org/support. Click on the PayPal button there.
Absolutely.
And just put in your note, make Derek stop. So the quilt currently is at $400. That's the current bid on that. Our vacation package is at $3,400. And I do want to mention, too, you are able to split up your weeks. The 4 weeks that are available, you can split those up. You can even split it between families. I believe people have done that in the past as well. So you can pool your money together with other people. If you were somebody maybe who bid $2,000 earlier and you're like, I really want to go there, well, contact some other folks that you know want to go as well and pool your money together. And you can set that up very easily. Barry, I had a few more questions that came up after that video. We've also been getting some text questions in. I greatly appreciate that because that's going to help us fill some time towards the end.
Absolutely.
But also, they're very good questions. So if you do have a question, you can text that to us at 513-334-7520. Again, that's 513-334-7520. Standard messaging rates apply. I feel like you have to say that, but who cares? Nobody really pays for text messages anymore, right? They're all unlimited.
Absolutely.
All right, so some more questions that came from that and really the house parent video. You talked about how Miss Faye has always had girls. And that's something that the house parents, they kind of set that standard, or they say, I only want a girl house or a boy house, that sort of thing?
We align with their heart's desire.
Okay.
Faye would tell you she would really never want to care for boys. She has told me that over and over again. And yet I have house parents who serve boys who would say, I would never serve girls. So we align to where we can with their heart as much, realistically every house parent gets kind of that right decision point coming in.
One of the interviews that we just heard too was she said she came in at 10. What's the age range that you typically have here too?
That was Natasha. Natasha came to us a little younger than normal. On average, our kids are 12 to 18. We'll talk a little bit about where they go, and we'll deal with the 18-year-old question at that point. But we really are a program that is designed to care for teenagers. And how, I say God did it.
Yeah.
That's kind of the age of children that were with us in 1967, and it's just evolved over time that we are a great place for teenage kids, and teenage kids need a great place.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that I say, hey, I want you to come and care for 6 kids, and then I say, when they're going to be teenagers, they're like, like that seems impossible. But we need that, and so there's a big need out there. There is a lack of services for teenage children, and so we feel blessed that that's who we get to serve in the realm of what we do.
Right. Now we've talked about Miss Faye a lot. Are the Fuquays the longest serving?
They are the longest serving. They came in 1987, so Midwestern was about 20 years old when they got there. They're still serving to this day. So I believe in June, that makes them 34 years.
Wow.
And she can tell you how many kids she served. I get the number blurred, but I think it's well over 300, maybe close to 400 kids they've served in that time frame.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And that really is a testimony to their servant heart.
Absolutely.
That is a lifelong devotion to ministry. Something else we heard in the video, some of the kids came to Midwestern from different programs before coming here, and they said that Midwestern's exactly what they needed. What makes Midwestern's program so much different than the other programs that are out there?
Well, I would say the number one thing is our family-based model. When you can envision the idea of what we call residential treatment, which is some pretty hardcore places dealing with some pretty hardcore kids. They definitely feel institutional. Right. They have shift works that change maybe as often as every 8 hours, maybe more than that. The kids are pretty scary to live with as a fellow kid. But at the end of the day, the house parent model where The house parents, they do get their time off. We talked about that. But they're the primary caretakers through the ins and outs of whatever. And that relationship that comes along really matters.
Yeah.
You heard Melissa talk about being very fearful of a cat incident with Miss Faye and what that might mean to the rest of her life.
Right.
And yet Faye came in with a whole different level of love, because she's like, I've totally ticked this person off. How are they going to treat me now? And that relationship just goes to another place.
Sure.
And that's what these kids need. We preach that relationships are the point of healing and care and positive change, not just coming in and enforcing a set of rules. We have to enforce the rules, but to inspire change, that's relationship driven.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Many may look at Midwestern and think about, this is a sad place. And I think in the video they said they came there in a sad place, but it's much different than that. It's a joyful place. It's a place that brings joy into people's life and really helps build a positive change. What is the driving force behind that?
Well, ultimately, I have to say that is the work of faith, the work of our Heavenly Father, that He brings the healing.
Sure.
He uses our house parents, our case managers, our teachers as hands of healing in that. But that sense of that you can do wrong and be forgiven. You can make somebody mad, and that's not the end of the relationship.
Right.
When we get frustrated with each other, we don't have to cuss and scream and yell. We are a culture of non-aggression, which means nobody should be hitting anybody.
Right.
Which brings safety. And safety is a huge core value of all that we do. That it's interesting that just through some of the dynamics of the way we program, the kids feel safe. The fact that we're in the middle of nowhere and they feel like the bad people that might be after them probably couldn't find this place. They feel safe.
Yeah.
We have some other things of our programming that they like that. I'm like, that should make it feel like this is an institution, and yet they feel safe by some of those measures. And knowing that even at night, if they get up, the house parent's going to come check on them.
Yeah.
And it's back to that mission, that heart of not here just to earn a paycheck, not here just to do a job, but here to really care for...
To serve.
To serve.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned teachers.
Yes.
So there's another element to Midwestern Children's Home, and that's the Village Christian School. Tell us a little bit about that and what needs that you have there.
All right. Several years ago, we got the opportunity to shift Village Christian School from a K through 12 community-based program. There was a reason why it needed to end, to an opportunity to really create an academic environment that would just be home run for our kids. Yeah. That meant that we really were about foundations in education, to help them. When you grow up in a family where you don't know what's going to happen tonight, is someone going to show up drunk? And maybe you were awake all night long last night because you don't know who was coming and going. And the craziness of some of these households these kids can come out of. School's not that important. Yeah. To learn what a verb and a noun, or to learn algebra, just doesn't seem to be the driving force when that's what you're living with all the time. And a lot of these kids have moved around a lot in their lives, and that means they just haven't been in school consistently like they ought to. They're smart. They're going to do great things. They go on and do incredible things with their lives. They just have had a disadvantage of not having a consistent education. So we've created Village Christian School to be a great foundational school setting for them. We don't consider ourselves college prep, but you give the right foundations, kids can go to college, you know. And what we've seen with that incredible opportunity, it's a therapeutic school that we can allow some extra space for kids to walk around. We have a really cool quiet room that they can go in and just calm down for a little bit and then get back into
I think we all need a quiet room in our life.
Yeah, it would be great, that when they get stressed, math often is their most stressful thing they can face in the day.
I agree. I agree.
And we have to walk along through that anguish of anxiety of letters and numbers shall not mix. That's a bad thing,
Yep.
So Village Christian School serves our kids there. We do have some community kids that, because of what it is, it's a great match for them as well.
Oh, okay.
Especially in school districts where maybe some bullying is happening for different reasons. We have a pretty safe environment there. And so we get to educate our kids right there on our campus. Kids, if they're ready, if they're aligned toward it, may end up in like the Great Oaks Vocational School System. Okay. They could end up, we are in the Goshen Local School District. We have a few kids that might end up like in the high school. But most of them are, everyone really starts at Village Christian School and they get their foundation set there. So we hire our own teachers. And we definitely want to hire Christians that will come in and serve the kids in faith. It's their mission too. And they get to love on the kids from their perspective as being their teachers. And teachers are very dynamic in the lives of everyone.
Sure.
There are many people that say a such and such teacher was a large part to who they are in the long run. Yep. So we value that. We do have an opening for teacher this coming fall. We have an English teacher that needs to be a 7 through 12 English teacher.
Okay.
From a licensing standpoint. If anybody would be interested in that, please reach out to me. That we'd hopefully align with that. We've been recruiting, and we will continue. And so we're optimistic that God's going to bring us the next person that needs to help these kids learn the discovery of learning to love to read and the English language.
Great. So they can contact you at midwestern@midwestern.org, right?
Absolutely.
It's not just for bids, but tonight it is. So if you have bids, you can send those in. Actually, let's check in on that real quick. Looks like our vacation home has jumped up, folks. You guys are getting in on it now. $4,300 is our current bid on the vacation homes. $4,300. I got text questions coming in. We're all over the place. Quilt's still at $400, though. This quilt is worth more than $400. I'm telling you guys. My great-grandmother made me a quilt that my middle kid still uses today. I know my quilts.
We're going to have a segment in a little bit where we actually will show that quilt, right?
I think we have. Yeah. I think we've shown it a couple of times. Okay. But it is here. It is lovely. But it can be yours. Okay. Right now, it's $400. Bidding closes, I mentioned this before, at 7:45. So we have about 23 minutes left to get your bids in. I know Jenny's back there, and she is just tippy-typing away at that computer as fast as can be, trying to get everybody's bids in and responding to your emails. So send your bids in for that. Again, all of your support tonight is going to support the Midwestern Children's Home and a lot of the things that we've been talking about. I had mentioned before midwestern.org/support. There's a lot of different options on there. PayPal, of course, is one that we've talked about. But another really great opportunity that you can do, and this is just everyday shopping, is with Amazon Smile. Midwestern is set up with Amazon Smile. You can go to smile.amazon.com and you can select Midwestern Children's Home as your charity of choice. So every time you order through either the Amazon mobile app, you can set up Smile on your app. You can do it on the computer, but every time you order qualifying purchases, I think it's 3% or something like that, Amazon donates to Midwestern. So if you're binge shopping with whatever you're ordering on there, you can also support Midwestern at the same time. There are other ways, of course, that people can support Midwestern, and that's outside of monetary contributions, but you can volunteer at Midwestern as well. We're going to now listen to a video. This is a rare opportunity. I don't think people understand how rare this opportunity is. Scott Houston, facilities manager for Midwestern Children's Home. We got him on video, folks. We got him on video, and we're going to watch it right now. He's going to tell us about some volunteer opportunities for you.
Hello, I'm Scott, and we're going to talk now about volunteers. Here we have a lot of buildings and a lot of territory that we have to maintain, and volunteers are an important part of that. For example, this sidewalk and this slab right here, the work was done by volunteers. You may have seen the barn. We use this barn. We actually rent this barn out for additional revenue for the home. This barn was cleaned up. The loft was built. The back deck was built, all with the help of volunteers. This is the Independent Living Center. The interior of that was painted by volunteers. This is our ILC pavilion. It was also built by volunteers. If you have the time and the desire, you have the opportunity to come help at Midwestern Children's Home.
Gotta love Scott.
Absolutely.
He does a great job, too. I mean, the campus is beautiful. He talked about some of the things that have been built with the help of volunteers. We also saw something at the end of that video. Scott mentioned the Independent Living Center. Tell us more about that. What is that, and how does that fit into Midwestern's program?
Yeah, several years ago, or through the years, I would say, we realized how can we help kids that end up turning 18 with us? And what do they need to launch into adulthood?
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of options. As soon as you become an adult in America, the resources just drop to almost nothing. And so we just discovered the value of, well, if we had a place they could land, that would at least be an option for them. You know, they're 18 years old. They definitely crave the freedom of adulthood.
Sure.
The idea that they're in control and they get to make the rules.
Yeah.
They just lack the funds and maybe the maturity to really pull all that off together. So we have a facility on our campus. It's 4 efficiency apartments. There's a unit supervisor. Jeannie Litton is our unit supervisor right now. It's serving boys. It has to serve the dynamics of it.
Sure.
Is it has to serve boys or girls, and it's serving boys right now. So we have a couple young men in there. We got another young man ready to move in as school gets out later or just in a couple weeks.
So it's like a transitional
house. We want them to finish school if they've not finished school. You know, not all 18-year-olds have actually graduated high school.
Sure.
So we want them to finish school if that's what they need to be about. We want them to attain employment and get into a regular paycheck. And then we kind of grow their budget over time to where they're taking care of themselves more. We're taking care of themselves less, with the goal of them being able to save money so that as that bank account increases, they do have some financial means to get their own place and do their own thing. And they are allowed to purchase and own a vehicle over there, so some of the kids will make a decision that they save up $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000. And they get a wonderful car for that amount of money. And then we kind of restart the savings wagon all over again.
Okay.
It's just really handy if you're ever going to sign a lease that you've got a bit of a savings account just in case something happens with your job or whatever, that you can make that month's rent. You know, trying to help them learn the value of having a nest egg from the beginning and not just living paycheck to paycheck.
Well, that's great. That's great. And that actually comes into one of our text questions that were sent in. By the way, we're still taking those. 513-334-7520 is the number for that. The question was, what opportunities do the residents have to earn their own money?
We do a whole lot of that on campus.
Okay.
Some of our kids work off campus. Those would be the older almost 18-year-olds. We've had a young man working at a place in Pleasant Plain. There's not too many businesses in Pleasant Plain, but we've had a young man working at one of them for a little while. So they, if you've seen from the pictures, it's kind of green and lush, and that means grass, which needs to be cut. And so we have kids. We pay the kids. It's considered an allowance, which gets out of the complications of the tax situation. But so they have an opportunity to earn a living. That's definitely like spring through fall. There's a little less of that through the school year, but we need them a little more focused on school.
Sure.
It takes them a lot of energy, we've learned, to stay really on top of their schooling. So we have opportunities for that, and through what we offer them in the summer, kids have saved $4,000 by the end of the summer.
Wow, that's great. That's great. I wish I could do that. So regarding volunteers, what kind of volunteer opportunities exist at Midwestern throughout the year?
Well, Scott kind of mentioned it, that we own a lot of buildings. We have many facilities for him to manage. So we have ongoing needs, whatever you can dream of. We love plumbers and electricians. We have the lovely thing of being on pretty much all electric, so we have heat pumps like crazy. And so just maintaining all of that, the more we can get volunteers to come in and help is great. It makes things go further. And some volunteer groups, we align with them, and we've already got the project budgeted, and they align with that. Other volunteer groups have come in, and they've paid for whatever they get done. That could be churches, businesses, families that want to come alongside us. Volunteerism can be a couple hours, can be a day. We've had many groups that come and stay multiple days and get larger projects done. You saw, I think, on the back of the barn, the big porch area, the portico that's on the back of that. That was not a one-day project, and that group came and stayed with us. You saw the cabins. We've had groups that stay in the cabins. We have another area that people can stay and sleep indoors, not out in cabins. And so we use the balance of those that groups can come and align with us for that purpose. And indoor painting, outdoor painting, landscaping. I could use some landscaping on the front of our office right now. The bushes have that snow that we got, it went to the bushes, and they need some serious trimming. So landscape artists, which I don't have that green thumb, we're maintaining a lot of material, or a lot of area, and buildings and all of that.
So if somebody wants to volunteer, or maybe even just tour the campus, how do they get a hold of you?
mid-western at mid-western.org.
Weird.
It's an amazing way to contact us.
I've heard that email address tonight. That's where people can submit their bids. You have 12 minutes left, by the way. Midwestern at midwestern.org. Vacation is still at $4,300. It's sitting steady there. Quilt's still at $400. We want to get those out the door tonight. So we will be announcing the winner at 7:45. All right, let's get to some of these text questions that have been sent in. Faye mentioned in the house parent video, she mentioned an allotment. What is that?
There's a lot to taking care of kids. Grocery bills are significant.
Especially teenagers.
We do meet their clothing needs while they're with us. So there are beyond, house parents earn a salary. It is employment. It's, they do get a W-2 at the end of the year. But there's other monies that it takes to care for these kids. And so they get a regular ongoing allotment for groceries, for allowances and haircuts and things like that just we need.
Gotcha.
And so that is something that it's hard to keep up with demand. Most of you understand that grocery prices have gone up. And so, one of the other ways that helps house parents beyond that allotment is the donation of groceries and paper goods and toilet paper. You can imagine, this is kind of picking on Faye's house, but, 8 young ladies living in a house might go through a little bit of toilet paper in a given amount of time, So, but the young men as well. We don't want to just pick on the, So all of that just helps budgeted monies go further as we get those donations.
Yeah, with COVID, I'm sure the toilet paper shortages were a real pain. We talked about the barn.
The barn, yeah.
Is the barn available for rent?
Absolutely. I will say that it does not have any kind of air conditioning or heating system, so it has some limitations to its season. But many have gotten married in the barn. We've had some hoedowns in the barn. We've had some camp worship sessions in the barn. The kids like that. It's got a wooden floor that stomps really well, you know. All so whether that's the hoedown or whatever. So yeah, it's a cool facility that you got to come in and you got to decorate it, and you got to bring your toilet paper for the restroom facilities that are in there. So it's
right.
But as long as you don't mind being a little cold or maybe a little hot, it's got some great ability to serve as whatever.
It's a good venue.
It's a great venue for that.
Well, if you're planning a hoedown, the barn is the place to do it. Invite me, because I've never been to a hoedown. Speaking of hoedown, somebody asked, do you need to be a skilled laborer in order to volunteer? I said, speaking of hoedowns, dropping the hoe. Listen, nobody has donated to stop me from saying dad jokes, so I'm going to keep doing it. But do you have to be a skilled laborer to come in and volunteer?
We love skilled laborers, but we love unskilled laborers. There is plenty of work to go around.
Sure.
So if you have any desire to come, I have painting projects right now that need to happen. We have some demolition projects that need to happen. Most people are better at demolition than they are maybe the other end of things, you know. So, but we really try to fit skills to jobs as best as we can.
A heart to serve is pretty much the only requirement.
Absolutely.
Sounds like. So, hey, we got some bids in. We just had an update on the bids. I'm going to do this because we're live and we've got only a few minutes for these to go. The vacation home is now up to $4,400. We've got a bidding war going on right now. Jenny's poor fingers are getting so sore back there responding to emails. The quilt is now up to $1,000. And you know what? I said that quilt wasn't worth $400. It is worth more than $1,000 too. So let's get that bid up there as well. Remember, all of this is going to support the program here at Midwestern. Another thing, when we're talking about the facility areas and everything, I heard about a fishing pond.
Yeah.
Tell me about the fishing pond.
That's a legacy of Midwestern Children's Home. I meet people all the time that they can tell me they remember our Friends Rally Days that used to happen in the fall, and they remember fishing in that lake. And maybe they caught the biggest fish out of the lake that day. But yes, we have community fisher people. That's the right way to say that, I guess. Fisher people.
Yes.
That come out, and we do have a registration system for that.
Okay.
We're caring for children, and we need to know who's on our campus and those kind of things. We have some rules to make sure everyone's safe and getting along, but we welcome people to come out. I think that first video, if people were tuned in there, really showed how much a calm serenity, a peaceful feel that there is out there. And to spend some time fishing is a wonderful thing. The grass isn't mowed real well around the lake if you show up in the next few weeks, but those summertime mowers will get out there in early June and will change the landscape of the grass. We welcome that.
Well, that's great. Let's transition away from the facilities, and we've got the cabins and stuff that you can rent as well. Let's talk about a little bit more about the program. We got some text questions that came in about that. First of all, how long does it usually take a new resident who's coming in to settle in and really get acclimated to what the program offers?
That's the amazing part to me. For me to put myself in their shoes. How long would I expect that journey to take? Where you're driven to a place, mom and dad may leave, a caseworker may leave, and you're here with strangers. we take a picture of them within the first business day or so. We have to.
Sure.
And it's amazing just in a matter of weeks, the difference in seeing that first day picture to what they walk in the office. Jennifer Bovary, Jenny's our secretary. She gets to take the picture and she gets to greet them a lot. And just the change of what's in their eyes, a joy that really comes, not a happiness, a joy. They would rather be someplace else. They have their bucket list of what that might be, but there's just a sense of peace that comes over them, and we have to tell parents, just when you start seeing that little different attitude, that little different look, that little different feel, we're not done yet. You know, we got a lot of other issues to work through.
Sure.
But literally in a matter of weeks, it can come around that they've settled in, they've kind of found a peace about being there, and they're ready to kind of get to work and move on.
Yeah, you could say that the cover of the book has opened up.
Absolutely.
And it's just starting to turn the pages.
That's a great analogy.
So we talk about coming into the program. What about leaving the program? What do you consider a successful resident? What does exiting the program successfully look like?
Success is really defined where they go, is our number one value of that. Do they go home? We have children that, if they're placed with us, they may get to step down into a much more community-based family foster home, where they might be only 1 or 2 kids in that home, especially if there's a thought they may be, unfortunately, in the system longer and not be able to reunify with family right away. So we look at stepping down to a more family-based environment. There are kids that we serve in the custody of Children's Services that they're up for adoption, and they may get placed adoptively. And a big push, and this is a good big push among the Children's Services welfare world, is can we find other biological family members that they can go live with? We recently had a young man that he went and moved in with his aunt, and that was a really good thing for him, that he got to a place that, you know, when the aunt could come back in, they were ready to have a lot of success together, and it worked out really well for that young man. So we're looking for positive outcomes that they can go for that. So that's how we define success.
Well, that's great. And you mentioned adoption, and I know in the testimonial video, we heard of a couple people who have been adopted by house parents. Is that typical, or is that more of an outlier of seeing that relationship grow into one that really builds a familial bond?
Believe it or not, this is something we train our house parents on. When new families coming in, we actually tell them, don't get excited about adopting right away, because it's such a phenomenon that they connect to these kids, and these kids will say, "Will you adopt me?"
Yeah.
And you don't want to say that kid no, you know, in that moment. So we work through that. Faye had been a house parent for several years before her first adoption, and then she's had others since then, so, or another. And she has a unique talent set that has made that work really well. There has been some kids that have struggled adoptively with house parents, remaining with, as the house parents continue to house parent, and they remain there and they don't feel that different. And so we have to talk through the complications of that. But, and we've had plenty of county caseworkers beg house parents to adopt because the kid's telling them how much they love their house parent.
Right.
So it's a part of the ministry. We want to make really good decisions and wise decisions for that. Of course, a house parent could not adopt every possible adoptive kid. Yeah. So wise decisions really have to be made along those lines.
So this question just came in. It was mentioned that the residents some of them have had trauma in their past. Is the goal of the time at Midwestern to resolve that trauma?
That's a complicated question.
Sure.
We talk about a lifelong recovery from trauma. Trauma is not something that you just magically get healed from. It takes time. So we we prayerfully, seeking God's intervention, want to be a place of healing for past trauma. But you know, when as they go on to life and they have their hopefully their wedding day, that trauma is probably going to sneak back in a little bit.
Sure.
As they have their first child, that trauma is probably going to, it's a lifetime journey.
Absolutely.
with that. And we just want to help them get to the best place they possibly can with that. We are considered a trauma-informed care ministry. We have a trauma-informed care model that we train all of our house parents in. In fact, we get to do that training on May 21st once again.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's coming up real soon. So it is again a core value of working with all kids.
So let's talk about training. You say you train the house parents. I know you have caseworkers that are also on site and employed there. Talk a little bit about the training. How rigorous is that? Is that something that obviously it sounds like it's an ongoing training process?
Yeah, the irony of the wisdom of the powers that we work under is they have to have 40 hours of training before we can leave them alone with kids.
Sure.
So we really tell them that you're going to sit in a chair for 40 hours and we're going to really mess with your mind and you're not going to know which way's up. And then we're going to give you 2 or 3 or 4 crazy kids and then the training really begins. So we want to give them the tools that they need to succeed. Unfortunately, we have to do that pretty quickly in getting a house parent up and running.
Right.
We surround them primarily with a case manager. Someone who has a bachelor's degree, usually in social work, if not a related degree, that it's their job to work alongside the house parent. They are their crisis call person if they need some help. And we really team that among all of the office staff that we're supportive as we come along with those house parents.
Gotcha. Well, that's great. I told you when you guys invited me to do this, I came into this with kind of preconceived notions about what Midwestern Children's Home is, what they did, but my mind and my eyes have been completely open, and hopefully those who've been watching tonight have as well, and have really learned about just the powerful ministry that this is and the impact that it's having in the lives of children. I have to break though, because our live auction has ended. It is 7:47. Do we still have bids coming in on the vacation home?
The last one came a minute ago.
All right, so the last one came in a minute ago. We're at $4,600 on the vacation home. I tell you what, I'm the auctioneer, sort of. So I'm going to extend the vacation home if somebody wants to bring it. Are you kidding me? Someone literally bid to end dad jokes? 3 people have bid to end dad jokes? Was my wife one of them? $1,500 has been donated to end dad jokes. I don't know whether to be offended or proud, honestly.
Thank you for inspiring a whole new category of bidding tonight. Appreciate that.
Wow. People want my dad jokes less than they want the quilt. The quilt is currently, the winning bid for the quilt is at $1,000. So I'll get the names for that here in a moment. But the vacation home, we're going to leave that open for 2 more minutes. 7:50 is the deadline. We're going to cut the vacation home off at 7:50 p.m. Eastern Time. I do want to take a second, though, to mention that anybody watching this after the fact, this is live streaming on YouTube right now, but after it's live, it will go up. It's available online. People will be able to access it from a link on the Midwestern website as well. If you're watching this after the fact, of course, your support, this is an ongoing thing. Absolutely. You can support Midwestern at any time that you wish. You can even make it a recurring support through PayPal. There are a lot of different options that are out there. So again, I hope that people have learned a lot tonight about Midwestern and the work that goes on there, and really pricked their hearts a little bit, whether or not they want to serve as house parents or support the ministry that is ongoing. I think my wife is really excited that I have to stop dad jokes, but unfortunately, that's just for this broadcast.
Does that go all the way to your home?
Sorry,
she might be bidding it up.
No, that's not going home with me. Sorry. All right. So again, vacation homes at $4,600. We got 1 minute left on that. I guess we'll say final bid on no dad jokes is $1,500. So, and again, we want to mention the online auction. Craig Lytle Auctioneers, great help with getting that set up, getting the photos online. Midwestern.org/gala will get you the link to that bidding website. Set up your account, and you can bid away on those auction items. I'm going to go home and check my items, make sure nobody has outbid me yet on the fountain pen. That is just a beautiful fountain pen. I'm spoiled. I got to hold it, and it is just perfectly weighted. I mean, I think it's Mark Jordan.
Mark Jordan, yes. He
donated wonderful artisan. So check those items out. Again, there's furniture, antiques, these lovely red chairs that we are sitting in tonight. Unfortunately, this table isn't for sale.
The table's not. We've had some interest in the table, but the owner of the table is really holding steadfast that the table's not for auction. So.
Got it.
I would say about the Craig Lytle auction that will close at 8 o'clock on Thursday night.
Thank you.
However, if there's a bidding war going on at 8, then it'll get extended to 8:05. And then 8:10, and then so on and so forth. So just to make people aware of.
So it's kind of like win by 2. When you're playing games, you got to win by 2. If there's a bidding war going on, it's going to keep extending until there's a lull, and somebody's like, "All right, I give up."
So if you wait till the last second to come in, the other person's going to get a shot at it.
Well, the time has come and passed. We are at 7:51. The bidding has ended. Do we have names for the winners? You can just deliver those up to me if you want. Just send. Was it Henry, the wiener dog? Is that oh, he's not here? Man, that would have been
Destiny,
awesome.
I think, was the one that loved Henry. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let me just mention while we get those names for the winners tonight. The online auction, I think this is an important element that's kind of hard to find. Email notifications. When you register, make sure that you tick the box to get email notifications so that if somebody outbids you, you'll know, and you can go back and set that up. You can also access that, I think, on your account. Again, that goes till Thursday at 8 o'clock. When the auction ends, then you will be you'll pay for your items there on the auction site. You guys will get those funds, and those, of course, all go to support Midwestern. I did mention, too, that you will pick up your items from Midwestern, and you can coordinate that with the folks there. All right, so we have the name. We have the names of the folks who have won the items. The vacation package was won by Linda Bowling. Linda Bowling with a winning bid of $4,600. Enjoy Florida, Linda, and family and friends and whoever is going. I know we're not supposed to be envious or jealous, but that looks gorgeous down there. The winner of the quilt was Darla Berman at $1,000. Great job. Thank you, Darla. And Darla also bid the $1,500 to end dad jokes.
Okay, so she set you up.
She did. I don't know Darla, but I appreciate
I'll introduce you. She's actually the wife of one of our board members.
I'll say great. That. Okay. Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Darla. I think it's funny that somebody actually did it. I want to know who else bid on it. Oh, the Houstons did. Okay, all right.
That would be Scott and Candy Houston
that
started
makes sense.
that. Yeah,
I kind of called out Scott on that, didn't I? So that's my own fault. All right, doesn't look like we have any more text questions. We had talked about just kind of in between videos of playing that mission video one more time. And I think we're going to end with that tonight. So Riley, if you want to cue that up, we're going to end with that. We'll go out on that tonight. We're live. We're just, we're riffing here, okay? So the live auctions are done. You can still bid on the online auctions. Barry, thank you so much for your work and your servant heart of working at Midwestern. You said 25 years now?
25 years.
25 years, and just the wonderful house parents and the work that's going on there. I mean, obviously Midwestern is thriving. It's moving in the right direction. I think, if we've learned anything tonight, that there is a need at Midwestern. There's a need for monetary support. There's a need for volunteers. There's a need for house parents. But I think there's also a need for prayer. This is a ministry. There is a lot of work going on in the lives of these children. So keep this ministry in your thoughts and your prayers. And if you can assist in any way, continue to do so. Do you have any closing thoughts? I
want to say thank you for joining us on this ride tonight, Derek. we reached out and you graciously agreed, and you've been a blessing to all that we've been about that.
Thank you.
So I appreciate that. I want to echo the appreciation for Devin Knipp. The videos are outstanding, and they'll be online. People get to review those, and all of our team back in the booth helped make this a great night. So thankful for everybody. I would just say that the power of prayer. I really want to I guess, end on this note, and just having people that praying for our children, having people praying for our house parents on a regular basis. We need God's guidance, His support, His intervention. And I pray regularly for the idea of house parents, families to come along, and teachers and staff. Of course, I have the onus to recruit and find those people. But any prayer warrior team out there that would take on praying for the bringing forth of families to serve as house parents, that is a mighty work. And that would be highly appreciative of the power of righteous people going before our Father and beseeching Him on that.
Absolutely. And I think it would behoove us as well to have one more mention of our sponsors as well.
Absolutely.
Our corporate sponsors who really helped make tonight possible. We've got the Chesta Company, Smile Designs of Southern Ohio, and of course Craig Lytle Auctioneer, who's helped out with that online auction as well. So I do want to say, too, thank you to all of you who joined us tonight online and had participated in our lively live auction. It wasn't as exciting as a country bumpkin auctioneer up here. But I think we did a great job. I think we raised a lot of money that's going to go towards a really good cause. But again, we're not done. We still have that online auction going on until Thursday. And again, you can submit your donations through PayPal, support on Amazon Smile. There's other things on there, so I think United Way, and some other opportunities that you can help out as well. Hopefully, next year we'll be back in person.
That is the goal. February 2022, we're hoping to be back in person, maybe with an online possibility in addition to the live thing, as we've learned lessons this year. But we're hopeful we can be back together in person with the friends and loved ones. So. Yeah,
I hope so too. That's great. In fact, usually my wife and I are away at a marriage retreat during the gala. So I'm just happy to have been a part of it.
Okay.
Got to be a part of it this year. So we're looking forward to it, though. Next year, hopefully, we'll be back in person. But until then, again, let's keep this work in our prayers. And continue to lift up these house parents in the mission, in the ministry that's going on at Midwestern, and praying for more families to come and help. If you think of any ways that you can volunteer, again, you can contact Midwestern at midwestern.com. And midwestern.org. .org, not .com.
Yeah.
That's the first time I messed it up. It's almost done. So midwestern.org, there's a lot of information on there. So check that out. Put it in your bookmarks. And put it in your prayer journal bookmarks as well. Absolutely. And keep this ministry in your prayers. So with that, I'm going to toss it to Riley to roll that video again. So thank you again for tuning in. Good night, and God bless.
Midwestern Children's Home reaches out to touch the lives of children in need of physical, spiritual, and emotional healing. "166 acres of land in Pleasant Plain, Ohio, provide a quiet, rural setting for the homes. The campus consists of group homes, offices, a playground, ball fields, and the Village Christian School, as well as a campground area with cabins, a shelter, and a fishing lake. Midwestern Children's Home provides a safe, nurturing, and Christian environment that protects and heals troubled children and helps them to know God and Jesus through His Word. The Midwestern Children's Home Ministry is a loving tribute to the compassion of our Lord, who said, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." Matthew 19:14.